Okay, so today you're here with Ryan Javeri here. We're going to be talking about the New Albany Wetlands ecosystem. It's a very important ecosystem when talking about New Albany wildlife. Its primary purpose serves as a source of water for other animals. It provides rich soil for plants to grow, which feed other animals, and plays extremely important parts in the three major cycles of nutrients: carbon, water, and nitrogen. We're just going to start off talking about those three cycles. First off, we're just going to briefly go over the water cycle. Water cycle is, as some of you may know, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, collection. The most important things that wetlands play a role in is that collection part, which, when talking about getting drinkable water, is kind of the most important. The vast majority of all precipitated water is unusable completely to humans. It's either extremely toxic, or it falls over the ocean, where obviously it serves no purpose to us, or it gets evaporated into the ground, where we just can't use it. Wetlands provide a pool for all of our water. And for local wildlife, a lot of the local birds, the deer, they all rely on water sources like this one that qualifies as the wetland to drink, to stay hydrated, which is very important. It also plays an integral part in providing a lot of plant growth. Without wetlands, you would not be getting cattails that, I think, taller than me. You would not have, so let's just talk about the carbon cycle real quick. For those of you who don't know, green plants such as these go under a process known as photosynthesis. It's when you convert sunlight into sugar, which makes the plant grow. And now I'm not going to talk about detail about the chemical process because we don't have time for it, and frankly, I don't even know how exactly it works. But what I do know is that the most important thing is the role they play in the carbon cycle. They suck in carbon dioxide, which is an important part of the photosynthesis, and release oxygen and water as byproducts. Obviously, I think you can already see how this is important because we need oxygen. So do all other animals. I really wish we had some squirrels to show you, but it's just have me talking. And then we release carbon, cycles them. When things die, they release carbon, cycles back into the plants. In addition, you have the nitrogen cycle, which also, most nitrogen is released back into the ground through respiration, and it gets trapped in our bloodstream. We all have nitrogen in our blood, and when organisms die, that nitrogen is released into the soil. That nitrogen in the soil is then used to create cattails that are taller than me. And then when the cattails die, they release all that nitrogen back into the soil, and so that's kind of how that all factors into that. Without these wetlands, you wouldn't get nearly as much plant growth. Without these wetlands, you would not have these trees. I know it's kind of hard to see how they relate, but that water source floods in and seeps into the ground all over this place. It's not just here, which is an important thing to remember. The wetlands goes beyond these pools of water that you see. They are any of that extremely damp soil. It's things like the Everglades down in Florida to our humble little watering hole here. Now, most importantly, perhaps, is the way they factor into the food chain. I'm just going to give you a nice little theoretical here. Without the wetlands, you would not have cattails. Insects eat the cattails, which have grown to live in here, and the insects have evolved to eat cattails. Now, birds eat the insects, and they are evolved specifically to eat the insects that eat the cattails. Other birds have evolved to eat the birds that eat the insects that eat the cattails. Other bigger birds have evolved to eat the birds that eat the birds that eat the insects that eats the cattails. Without the wetlands, you wouldn't have cattails, which means you wouldn't have the insects, the birds that eat the insects, the birds that eat the birds, the bigger birds that eat the middle-sized birds that eat the other birds. I hope you're completely lost like I am. And without them, obviously that entire food chain collapses. I'm going to just give you a quick rundown of exactly why and how that works. First, you have the cattails. They're producers. They create energy from sunlight through photosynthesis. That's important, and they represent the base of every single food chain ever. Next, you have the insects. They are your first trophic level and your primary consumers. They eat the cattails. And represent an important transfer of that energy as the first things that the smallest birds can eat. Now those birds are the third trophic level and secondary consumers. They eat the insects. Now you have the other bigger birds like maybe barn owls and great horned owls that eat the smallest size of bird. Those are your fourth trophic level and third-dairy consumers? I don't know what that word is. Tertiary. Then you have your fifth trophic level, which are red-tailed hawks, eagles, and things that eat the owls. And those are your final trophic level in our imaginary food chain. It also plays an important role in biodiversity of New Albany. Without these, you would not have the deer. You would not have the coyote, which eat the deer, not going to go into another food chain. You wouldn't have frogs. You wouldn't have nearly any of all this diverse wildlife that you get in Ohio. And that's really important just in representation of the wildlife. I know a lot of people, we don't think about what it's like outside of our houses and schools and what it really is out here. But these animals are extremely important to our daily lives. Without them, we wouldn't have clean air. I mean, we would just have like all this smog, all of our carbon. We wouldn't have that fresh air smell. And so that's really the point of this video, to bring awareness to these vital ecosystems. The fact that they are slowly ebbing out. I mean, just people encroaching on their territory, and just the sound of it, the noise, they're starting to drive away some of the smaller animals. And yeah, that might go away as they get more used to people, but it is an important issue when you're talking about the New Albany Wetlands area. So that's just kind of it. So, good night and good luck from Ryan Javeri.